How many midgets is it going to take to beat Francis Ngannou? 50 or less?
Okay, so midgets and not children, correct?
No, they're midgets.
Okay, hear me out. I say this because the argument comes down to mental capacity. Because if it was children, I would say you're going to need way more than 50 because they're going to think like little kids. Just isn't there. You know, they're fully capable grown adults. And I would like to think that, you know, they would come up with some plan, some form of attack, whether it's, you know, like biting at the ankles or forming like a midget transformer, something where they would like link together. And I say 25.
25 midgets. Okay, what if they were on PCP?
Oh God, PCP midgets? All right, that's a whole different thing, man.
So how's your tattoo healing? Mine healed pretty good? Do you want to see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let me see. All right, nice, dude. I like it.
Yeah. I was thinking about getting Blake and then like a rose or some shit right there. I don't know. But we'll see. I ran out of funds, you know?
Yeah, no, dude, it looks good, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yours is healing up okay?
Got it up a little higher up than yours.
Yeah, what a specimen, man. What is up, everybody? It is your guy Tyler here with Mom's Basement MMA, and I am just stoked because I have my fighter alter ego on the show, Blake Perry. Blake, man, thank you for being here. And I must say, you're probably the best looking fighter I think I've ever had on the show.
Dude, that means the world. Thank you for having me, first of all, because I never get to do these kind of things, you know, so make me feel cool. And I know my mom's watching and stuff, so it's a cool opportunity, and I appreciate you having me.
Hi, Mom.
There we go.
I think your mom follows me, by the way. I'm pretty sure.
I think she does. I'm sure she does. Danica. I'm sure she does.
That's pretty dope. Hi, Blake's mom. Nice to kind of sort of meet you. So Blake, you are from Ohio.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you are a kid from Ohio. And when I go on your Tapology, I see that you made your Ammy debut in 2018. And when I look at the map, you are all over the place. Like, I don't know if you're a vagabond or like a serial killer that has to move from state to state real quick, but you have fights in Hawaii, Tennessee, and then you just had a kickboxing fight in Nevada. So before I even ask you anything else, that like for the geographically challenged, none of those states are close to each other. So like, what is going on with you, man? You are all over the place.
Well, first off, I am a serial killer, so you're right there. But also, I kind of have bounced around. So I've lived my whole life. I was born and raised in Ohio, and I moved out of there when I was like 22 after college, and joined the military. And I was in like a little over 3 years, and that was where I started MMA, where most of my fights were all in Hawaii. And when I started bouncing around was during COVID, because Hawaii, the shows were shut down, unfortunately. So Tennessee opened up relatively quick compared to other places. So I was lucky enough to get in with a couple promotions out there, and Primal Combat was the main one. And I fought for them twice, and ended up, now I live in California, Northern California in the Bay Area. I fought in Nevada recently, just like about a month ago. And fight it's actually, it's misleading. It's closer than you think. It was probably a like 3-hour drive from where I live now. So I was able to just drive to that one.
Are you in the military currently or not anymore?
Yeah, I'm actually in the Air Force currently.
Okay, so one must ask, if you're in the military, how do you manage doing military stuff and fighting stuff at the same time? I think that's probably a logical starting point because that's pretty unusual.
Yeah. Actually, it works out pretty good. I've been pretty super fortunate to have like stuff that, you know, was pretty cool with it. You know, just have to get my paperwork and all that signed. But as far as the most part, the support's pretty awesome, man. My support system, like I said, I've had bosses and stuff from my work show up to my fights, and I've actually gotten a lot of like Air Force support from them. So that's super, super, super dope, man. And lucky because I've heard other stories where, you know, people in the military weren't as fortunate where, you know, their chain of command or whatever you want to call it was like, nah, it's not happening. But no, they like seeing me get beat up. So they just send me out there.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I'm glad you have that opportunity. So I was also in the Air Force, and I can tell you from like when I was in, we're talking about like the Chuck Liddell like heyday, like the early 2000s, and MMA was like relatively edgy at that time. Like it really wasn't like an accepted sport. Really, it was kind of like edgy. It was kind of wild and stuff. Whereas now it's like it's on ESPN. But back in the day, it wasn't, man. Like you had to pay-per-view. You had to get a pay-per-view in, and if you had, hopefully you had Spike TV, or if you didn't, man, you were screwed.
Right. Oh, no doubt, man. I mean, even like the phrasing of it, you know, it used to always be ultimate fighting or cage fighting, or that was what they always referred to it as. And now it's mixed martial arts. So even the name of it sounds way more professional now. You know what I mean? Like you don't really hear it called ultimate fighting anymore or anything like that. It's way more accepted than, like you said, even 10 years ago or 12 years ago. It's like just in a whole different world now that it's pretty unanimously accepted.
And I'm gonna kind of go off on a tangent, or I kind of want to get your opinion on just the state of MMA in general. What's fascinating to me is, since I've been doing this show, my perspectives have shifted. Like I talk to a lot of you guys. I have a much more keen understanding of just how difficult it is to do what you do. Not only from like a physical standpoint, but I'm talking about from like a logistical and financial standpoint. It's insanely difficult. When you're an amateur in particular, you're not really getting money. You might get a little something from whatever tickets that you'll get a commission on, but by and large, that's about it. When you're talking to people in like the quote unquote big leagues, we saw that Cheyenne Bays, she just fought and she got a 50K bonus, and she like flipped the fuck out. And it's all over the news now. She's just like,
Yeah.
I've been poor forever. I'm so happy about this. This is a life-changing amount of money to me. And obviously you're not in this for the money. Like, I don't know. I think it's safe to say for most fighters, like there's really not any money in this. It's not. You have to do it because you love it. So if you were like king of the world, and let's just assume like you were the heir apparent to Dana White, like what are some changes that you would make, at least as far as the UFC?
That's a really good question, man. And yeah, to answer your question, my total salary so far has been like negative $5,000. I spend money for fights, between like getting blood work done and, travel or whatever. And I love it. Wouldn't change a thing. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, it's like I said, as an amateur, I don't make anything. But what would I change? I would say, I don't even know how you would go about it, but like job assurance, because it goes by like a fight to fight basis, so especially in like, I know a lot of professional fighters more almost, I think, other than like the top tier of the world, have other jobs. It's, you hear the phrase professional fighter and people think like, oh, that's like what you do, like that is your job as you're a fighter, and you absolutely make money, but you figure you make a few grand a fight a couple times a year, you're gonna have a full-time job doing something else, if you want to survive.
Yeah, especially if you're like on a UFC 10 and 10.
For sure.
I mean,
for sure.
I mean that sounds like a lot of money to like people who don't fight, like me. Like, be like, oh, 20 grand, that's great. Well, like 20 grand is not what shows up in your bank account. Like you got to tax it, you got to pay coaches, and I don't even know in the UFC if they like pay for your travel and stuff. I have no clue.
Yeah, who knows, man? That's a good question.
But what I do know is that the number that shows up in your bank account when you get done paying everything that you need to pay, it isn't 20 grand. Yeah, like I definitely echo your sentiment. There should be some more security involved. Now, what that means in terms of execution, I don't really know. But one of the ways that I think that would be a good starting point would be, I would bring back the trunk sponsors. Like whatever sponsors you line up on your own.
Yeah.
I don't care if it looks like freaking NASCAR on your shorts, like how it used to back in the day.
Right.
I mean, if that's what it takes for fighters to be a little more financially secure, like, I don't understand why that's such a big deal.
By the way, if NASCAR wants to sponsor me, I'm totally down for that. If you got contacts.
Let me work something out. Let me grow this out a little bit. I'll try to do one of these kind of.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Respect.
They'll take me seriously then. Would you agree? I mean, that's
no doubt.
And I'm going to ask you the most annoying question that you get, a million times a day.
Okay.
When are you going to go pro?
Honestly, I trust my coaches, so whenever they feel I'm ready and the right opportunity comes, definitely we'll hop on it. But I'm not in any particular, rush. I think a lot of people hop into the pro league too early, and they suffer a little bit. Whereas had they just had that extra 1 or 2 amateur fights, it could have just, sent a completely different trajectory to their career. So I absolutely, love it and can't wait to go pro. Don't get me wrong. But, ultimately I trust my coaches a ton. Coach Sonny is who I fight for now. Yeah, Sonny Ramos. Yeah. So whenever they, see the opportunity and they think I'm ready, I'm ready to rock, man. But in the meantime, I'm just taking all the fights I can now and hopping on them, because that's another thing too, that it's way easier to hop on amateur fights like crazy because, they don't have to pay you. So if you want to fight them, they're like, whereas, fights are a lot more few far in between when paychecks are involved. So that's kind of the way I'm taking it now, man. Just racking up as much cage time as I can and just having fun with it, dude. Just hop in, whatever it is, man. Short notice, MMA, kickboxing, grappling, whatever it is. I just like fighting, dude. So I want to get as much experience as I can and have a good pro career after that, dude.
If you had the choice between any of the big three, like, do you have an eye on one in particular, or are you agnostic?
Dude, I guess at this point, all of those are so awesome to me. You know what I'm saying? That it's like, even thinking of like, as a little kid, it's UFC is like everyone knows and loves UFC. So that's like the dream, But dude, anymore, all three of them, man. Like, one championship is absurd. Like, talent wise, it's just crazy, man. And then Bellator, same thing, dude. So if I ever got the opportunity to fight for any of them, it would be a dream come true. So I'm agnostic when it comes to that. I know that's a super vanilla answer, but it's true, man.
If it were me, I think it would depend on like what weight class I was in. So let's just say hypothetically, I was a fighter for a second and I was in, I don't know, 155, let's just say. Mm-hmm. I definitely wouldn't go into UFC if given the choice. I'd be like, no, fuck that. It's way too deep. I would rather go to Bellator or PFL. For me, if I were like at 150, I think it just really depends on what class you're in.
No doubt, dude.
Classes are incredibly deep, and then others like 125. Like, I would tell anybody who I have yet to have a 125er on, for like a male 125er. I've yet to have a male flyweight on, but I would tell anybody who's like at that weight class, like, dude, like, you can get right in there and start fighting ranked dudes right away.
Shit, man. We have to have my homie Terrence Saturn on, who I train with. He's the #1 ranked amateur flyweight in California.
Dude, he is probably a savage. And, it's not unrealistic
He's a savage, for sure. Yeah.
It's not unrealistic to say he can make it to the UFC in short order, because that weight class, it's not like 155 or 70. And 85. I mean, UFC is just freaking loaded with all these guys. Crazy. Let's talk a little bit about. I want to talk about you. I want to talk about like you specifically. These last few bouts that you've had. What's really cool is like you just made your debut in 2018. Here we are, a few years down the road, and when I look at like the guys that you've had to fight against, if I can pick like one state that's probably the hardest freaking state to make your debut in, it's probably Hawaii, because those guys are freaking tough. Hawaiian guys are savages. They are freaking savages, and they're big and they're strong and they're scary.
Oh, dude, man, I loved it out there, man, because and you said it, dude. Like, there was no one I fought out there that wasn't like, win or lose, that wasn't a total beast, and super respectful too, man. Like, I'll never forget my time in Hawaii. It was like I said, I was out there for 3 years, and everyone out there still treats me, like I'm there at home, and I'm not even from there. I'm some kid from Ohio, man, like their own, and they still do. They still are always promoting my fights and reaching out. And so I have like a huge debt to Hawaii, and that is definitely my home away from home. And yes, you're definitely right. Everyone out there hits like a fucking truck and is tough as nails. You know, that's like baseline from there. Even if it's, I swear to God, if it's people that don't even train MMA, like the average person out there can throw down at least, you know? So it's definitely, it was an awesome point in my life, and I'll forever cherish it. Yeah.
Being like a bald white dude from Ohio, like when you showed up there, like you probably had to go, like you had to earn that respect, man. And that was probably hard to do.
yeah, a little bit, man. It's like I said, it was, I was surrounded by a lot of cool people, and all it took was just those couple right fights, you know, even like I said, whether I lost, you know, whether they were good fights or I got my ass knocked out, you know, whatever it was just always hopping on fights, short notice, or, you know, not short notice, and just fighting tough competition and always going out there and just doing what I love, man. So I think, you know, that people notice that, and, you know, just be a good person and always be respectful. And like I said, win or lose, man, just go out there and do what you love. And it's the name of the game. You win some and you catch cracks, you know, it is what it is, but for sure.
Prompted you. So take me back to Hawaii. Like what made that switch go off in your head where you're like, you know what, like I'm going to go into the amateur circuit and start fighting these dudes? What happened? Can you take me back and kind of walk me through that?
So yeah, for sure, man. So I've always wanted to since I was like young. I've always thought MMA was super dope from when I was you know, a little kid watching Chris Lieben and all those guys. I love watching. I'm trying to think who else growing up. I love watching Chuck Liddell. All those guys were like heroes to me, you know. But I started wrestling in 7th grade, and then wrestled all the way up through I graduated college, which was just in 2017. So basically, I finished my wrestling career in 2017, and then just hopped into MMA for about a year, and then took my first amateur fight out in Hawaii.
You know who you remind me of, kind of, sort of, and I just had him on the show, and he knows who you are, by the way. He had nothing but good things to say about you. Gerald Spahn.
Yes, great dude, super cool. Yeah,
Gerald is a real pleasure to watch, and you know he was a wrestler at Kent State, and I think that's super cool because like that discipline is, to me, what shows up the most when I watch your fights. I love your takedowns. I love how you get guys down on the ground. And what I also like, I like your submission game quite a bit. Obviously, the whole submission game is totally different. How did you get involved in like jiu-jitsu, and how did you pick that up?
So yeah, same kind of thing. I just started training MMA right after my wrestling career. And, you know, a lot of it translates, you know, it's obviously jiu-jitsu and wrestling are super different, but there's a lot of similarities, like especially the top game in MMA, where there's a lot of wrestling moves and stuff that if you just take it one step further and throw in a choke at the end or armbar or anything like that, it's essentially just a wrestling move with that one more thing tacked on. Like I said, just kind of transitioned, and I'm long and skinny, man. So why not use that shit? You know, I just like, you know, shit straight down the pipe, keep it long. And then on the ground, like I said, I got long noodle arms. So why not choke some guys with it, you know?
I think you're like the perfect size for 85, 6'3". So do you have to cut to make 85, or is that pretty close to your walk around weight anyway?
It's pretty close, man. Like I said, I probably walk around about 190, maybe lower 190s. So I walk around weight, yeah.
Yeah, I think 85 is like perfect. And I knew earlier on you fought at Welter. Would you ever go to Welter again, or is that too difficult of a cut?
No, I'd for sure go to Welter again. Because even that with like, you know, the right camp and everything, even making 170 is not too bad. Just doing it smart. And like I said, I wrestled for a real long time. So that's one thing I was pretty fortunate with, is make weight for things for years and years before I started doing MMA. So yeah, definitely I for sure would fight 170 again when the opportunity comes. But I feel like lately it's been all 185 stuff's been popping up, and I like food, man. So fuck it.
If you had to fight a freaking dude who's 6'3" and you're 170, like, holy shit, that'd be quite the advantage. Like, assuming that doesn't sap out like too much of your strength.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're a young guy, and like you making 170,
yeah,
like, I would say doing it earlier rather than later is probably like the most biologically sound choice to make. Because, dude, I'm telling you, man, when you get to my age, fuck, man, just waking up. Like, if I have like 2 of these little Mike's Hard Lemonade thingy-mabobs, Oh, dude, man, on a Friday night, dude, if I did that on a Friday
Is
night,
game
like
over?
the weekend is fucked, dude. Like I'm not doing anything the rest of the weekend. It's not like back in
Dude,
the
what
day
flavor is
where it's hard strawberry lemonade.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
I like it. Hey, man, like I said, no shame, dude. My like favorite alcoholic drink on the planet, Tequila Sunrise.
What's that? Like, obviously it's tequila. I don't know what's in it.
Right. So it's like you got tequila at the bottom and then orange juice and cherry grenadine. So it kind of looks like a sunrise, right? But dude, I don't care what anyone says. Like, people always act like, oh, you know, my favorite is this whiskey or that whiskey and blah blah blah. Like, you know, deep down, the fruity, delicious drinks, you can't act like that doesn't taste better. They're so good.
I've never had that. I don't really drink hard liquor. And beer, like I used to love beer, but I found out I'm allergic to. Yeah, like beer is like, yeah, like messes me up, like my sinuses and stuff. Like I can't breathe.
Really? I wonder if it's like the wheat or something. Yeah, okay. Damn.
So I got like an allergy test and stuff like that, and because they're like natural molds and stuff in beer. So when I do drink, I drink one of these girly drinks or I drink wine.
Hey, man.
Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Not you. I'm talking about the rest of the internet. Don't you guys fucking judge me. Tell me a little bit about your last loss. So your last loss was a couple years ago against Evil Blake. And I didn't find that one on the interwebs, but from what it looks like, this looks like a flash KO. Is that what happened?
Yeah, he just cracked me with a big, I think, left hook. And yeah, dude, just fucking slept me. There's nothing fancy, or it was very legit. It wasn't an early stoppage, man. Like I said, he cracked me and I was out.
Wake up?
Ref did his job and dude's a beast. I was like wrestling with the ref for like 10 seconds after. I was like still in the fight. I hit a pretty sick low single, if I say so myself, on the ref. It was pretty solid. Gotta be honest. It was like textbook.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that you lost. I'm glad that that happened now, because like once you go pro, none of that crap matters. And I'm sure like you talked to your coaches after that. I bet you have evolved a lot since that loss. So tell me, like, what did you learn from that? And like, how have you evolved as a fighter since that defeat?
I think I grew in a lot of ways, because you really can't feel shittier after a fight than that. There's nothing else that could happen that would make you feel like more down, kind of thing, you know? I mean, like I said, man, it is what it is. And the dude's a freaking monster, you know, and he's continued on and he's going to be the shit, you know, his whole family's monsters. And so all the respect to him, cool as hell. But anyway, yeah, since then, man, I think just some things I've changed up were maybe not going out ready to fight, if that makes sense. In my past fights, I kind of would go out and maybe kind of make it more like a feel out period, which is fine if the other dude's doing that too, you know? But if one dude is ready to go out there and just throw bombs and I'm not, then, you know, shit's going to go bad, obviously. So I think, you know, good jaw check and, you know, definitely needed it, you know, and made me correct a lot of things in my game. And yeah, man, like I said, you can't have much more of a bummer fight than that. So after that, you're kind of like, fuck it, dude. Just, you know, if you lose a fight when you're going out hard as hell, then shit, man, you lost. But you know, I definitely don't want anything like that to happen again. So
yeah. So one of my friends, it just, you know, he suffered a defeat very similar to what you just described. He went through the same thing, and me looking at it as a fan, watching it, I'm just like, there has got to be no worse way to lose. Like I could handle like a split decision or getting tapped out even, but like, to get knocked out right away, I think it's natural. Like, you're not human if you're not thinking on the walk back to the locker room, like, do I have what it takes to do this? Am I good enough? Like, how did I not see that happening? Do I suck? Like your mental fortitude to fight has just got to be challenged. It's got to be the stock market, man. Like, you are not human if you don't feel that way. So from like a mental aspect, is there like, can you talk a little bit about like the mental game of fighting? Like, what is it that you've learned since making your debut in 18 about just headspace?
Yeah, man. So I guess one thing too, yeah, I mean, first you described it perfect, man. You know, it's like everyone has those, either they have those thoughts or they just don't admit it. You know what I mean? Not even just fighters, but I think people in general, man, when you have like a big failure, oh, you know, I don't care. You brush it off and whatever. I don't care what anyone says, man. Everyone has those days and those events that they're not proud of, or, you know, athletics aside, just as human beings. But I think from that one, yeah, like you said, dude, right after, of course, I was bummed and felt stupid, I felt dumb, but I think I just used it as kind of motivation, man, because I know, I know how I can fight and I know what I'm capable of and what the product that I can put out. So it was just honestly motivation. I know how to do, and you literally can't do worse. So go out there and and I think honestly in the long run it helped, man, because since then, it's been good, bro. But I think that's good, man. Just as people, I think it's good to have those. Just as like human beings, it's good to have really rough moments, because I think that ultimately makes tougher people. I would, like, if I was raising a kid or something like that, I would want him to experience hardships sometimes and have to work through it and overcome it, than just have some perfect record or perfect, just in life in general, having some perfect streak or something where it's getting cracked in the mouth, you know what I mean, and having to work from it. And I use that like metaphorically, but just or literally, in my opinion. Or in my case. But yeah, man, I think that shit's good, dude. Like I said, it obviously sucked that night, and for the next day or two, you bounce back. It's the fight game, and I think ultimately it made me tougher and love the sport even more, man.
I think one of the reasons why I'm attracted to it so much, just as a fan, is because, to your point, in the game of life, like, we all encounter adversity. Seldom is it broadcasted to the world. And I don't know, I just feel like some sort of connection to it, because it's like, if life were a sport, it's got to be mixed martial arts or some sort of combat sport, because there's no one else to cast the blame on. There's nobody else. It's just you and one other guy out. In a way, that's kind of like how life works out, right? Like, sometimes we don't get the job. Sometimes we don't do as well as we thought we were going to do. And that's part of like being human and just progressing in life. Like, we're going to fail at certain things. It's inevitable, right? To your point, it's like, we don't really know what we're made of and what we're capable of doing until we encounter adversity in some way, shape, or form. If everything were handed to us, like, dude, like, we'd all be 500 pounds and, probably be dead at like 30, because we'd have heart attacks and shit. Like, we'd have no real reason to get up and do anything. You know what I mean? Does that sound crazy?
Yeah. No. You're exactly right, man. Same thing, bro.
Like, similar to life, like, there are highs in life and then there are lows. And fighting, like, you like, there's going to be a point in time where you find yourself in both of those camps. And so tell me, Blake, I want to shift gears a little bit. You told me that you wrestled in high school, and I definitely I did a fight breakdown of you, and I believe I covered a couple different fights, if I'm not mistaken. And like, what I saw, it was your wrestling and your grappling, like that shines through really in relatively quick order. Like I said before, I love your takedowns. I love your ground game. It's freaking fantastic. And when you get on your back, when someone gets like top control on you, you aren't necessarily looking to like go transition into like half guard or use like one of your scrambles or get ups, whatever. Like, you are very comfortable off your back, and like, you, in a way, I don't know if bait's the right word, but like, you kind of wait for somebody to make a mistake. Like, go ahead, I'm going to grab your arm, or I'm going to catch you. You're going to make a mistake, and I'm going to capitalize on it. And one thing I like so much about you is, like, when I look at your fights, you let people make mistakes and you put them in a submission and they go to sleep. And it's freaking fantastic.
I appreciate that, man.
Sure. You go from wrestling and your jiu-jitsu, and you most recently fought Damian Blotsky, I think I said that right, in Nevada.
Yeah.
It was a kickboxing fight.
Yeah.
And
right.
I watched that on the interwebs, and it was a fantastic fight. I really liked watching it, and like, my favorite part of the fight, like, there was like something had happened, and like, he was complaining about a low blow, and there's a point in the fight where you're kind of like glancing over at the ref, like, you're not sure if he's about to like stop it or not, and he doesn't say, he just kind of stands there. So then you just blitz in and just blast this guy right in the face. And I probably laughed for like 5 minutes after watching it because that is exactly what I would do.
I honestly didn't know, because he kind of like walked backwards with his hands down. I wasn't sure if like a body shot hurt, or I even like kind of hesitated for a second because I was like, I like legit didn't know what happened. And the ref was kind of like gave me this look like bro, y'all are still fighting. So I kept fighting. I don't know, but nah, he's a cool ass dude too. It's a crazy fight, man. He's a freaking monster. I fought in that fight was 18, bro. Yeah, he's like up and coming kickboxer, and yeah, he's a monster, dude. Like I said, he's like legit just turned to being an adult. So yeah, he's the real deal, bro. That was a fun ass fight though, dude. Total scrap for sure.
What prompted you to take that fight, a kickboxing fight, as opposed to a MMA fight?
My coach actually came up to me one day, like I think like 6 days before the fight, and was like, "Hey man, I seen something online. Someone pulled out of this kickboxing fight. It's it's at 185, and they're looking for a replacement. You want to take it?" And I was like, "I mean, sure, why not, man? I've never been to Lake Tahoe, and I love kickboxing. You know what I mean? I'm definitely, that's the part of my MMA, in my opinion, I needed the most work. So I was like, I mean, why not, dude? You got to go into a fight with someone who really knows what they're doing, and you're not allowed to shoot takedowns, you're not allowed to grapple, you're not allowed to do any of that, So I figured it'd be a good test to get out of my comfort zone and go fight a tough dude and just stand there and bang it out, because there's no other choice, or get knocked out. So it was a lot of fun, man.
I think like you're handling your amateur career, you're handling it very intelligently. And I was speaking to Hillary Rose. She's in CFFC. She's 115-pound strawweight. I asked her this question, like, what kind of advice would you give to like an up and coming amateur, somebody like you? What the advice that she gave is what you're doing. She said, paraphrasing, take your time, number one, and number two, take tough fights. So because none of it matters when you go pro. So like if you're weak in an area, if you're weak in Muay Thai, take a Muay Thai fight. If you're weak in kickboxing, take a kickboxing fight. If you need to work on your striking, box. Like there's nothing stopping you from doing all of these things, and like you're only going to like type of experience is going to pay dividends for you when you go into your professional career. Because like once you go pro, it's like a tattoo, man. Like there's no going back after that. Like you're in it, for better or for worse. And it's one of those things where sometimes you see these fighters that make that leap a little too early, and then all of a sudden, let's just say they go on the regional scene, they do really well, and then all of a sudden they find themselves in one of these big promos and they get exposed really quickly. Like Chase Hooper comes to mind right away. I don't mean to shit all over that guy. I think he's a phenomenal grappler. He's a great talent, but his stand-up game is not there. It's just not there. And it makes me wonder if he like bit off more than he can chew. I mean, he's a young kid. He's like, I don't know how old he is. He's probably like 22, 23. One more loss and he could get bounced, and then he's going to be trying to like revive his career before it even started. And it just makes me wonder, like, man, did you make that leap too early, too soon?
No, I think that's definitely a good takeaway. I think she gave good advice. Just don't be overly concerned, I guess, with your record. Is that as soon as you go pro, it doesn't matter anyway. Like my record is nothing special. I think including those kickboxing fights, maybe 6-3, something like that. Nothing, like I said, nothing special, but racking up experience and going out there and genuinely having fun. Like I said, I have no like illusion that I'm some insanely talented kickboxer or anything, but I just love fighting, man. And the one hopped up a cool location with a super tough opponent, and why not, man?
Blake, you are like I really like your sober approach to your amateur career. And if there's like one piece of advice that you would give somebody who's trying to like follow in your footsteps, what might that be?
That's a good question, man. I would say, I know as corny as it sounds, just always have fun. Like don't ever, it can feel like this is like life or death. And this is, I'd say don't look too far forward. Like don't think what this fight does for your career down the road or what this or that does. I say just, hop on opportunities when they come up out there and trying to rob your house, and just go out there and have fun, man. Just do your thing, because before we know it, we're all going to be dead. and, you know, don't pick and choose fights. Just go out there and have fun. And, you know, we're all going to be too old to do this before we know it. So career and be like, yeah, you know, I took a bunch of like crazy ass fights and had fun, you know? So that's my advice, but some people might think that's bad advice, but that's from me. Just go out there and just throw down, have fun, man. And then good things will come. You know, the things that you're wanting actually come. You know, I think the bigger opportunities and all that kind of stuff will come, and the wins will come if you go out there and have fun.
Absolutely. And before I let you go, Blake, did you want to shout out any one at your gym or?
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you. So yeah, my head coach, Sonny, got all kinds of guys, Coach Devo, Coach Thomas, Coach B, and then fighters, definitely ones to keep an eye out for. At 125, Terrence Saturn is fighting August 14th. He's like the #1 ranked flyweight in California, amateur. And then he's fighting August 28th in San Francisco, super close friend of mine. And then a whole bunch of other people. Ricky Abdelaziz is fighting August 28th. And then a whole bunch of homies in Hawaii. Got Ricky Ng, Spencer Iga, Strickland, all of them, man. Everyone in Ohio, Upgraded Industries, everyone from Baldwin Wallace Wrestling, my cousin Joe, family, everybody. I think I pretty much hit everybody, man.
Well, Blake, it was certainly a pleasure having you on the show. Everyone, please follow my guy, Blake. Blake, how do people find you on Instagram?
It's going to be Blake MMA 170.
Blake MMA 170. Also, check out the fight breakdown that I did of Blake. I posted that, I want to say like a week or so ago, and it is August 2nd, 2021. So if you are watching this 4 or 5 years into the future, hopefully the world hasn't ended because of coronavirus. If it has, well, no one's going to be watching this shit anyway. But by the off chance we do make it, go back into the feed. By then, Blake might be tearing it up in PFL or something like that. And this is where it all started. So check that out. Ladies and gentlemen, Blake Perry. Thank you, Blake.